Hey, what do you think? Did you see the SCOTUS nonsense around uh they're going the those future deportees are going for class certification in the Fifth Circuit?
It's just crazy. It's crazy. So the first judge, Boasberg, this Judge Boasberg, he looks like a Voldemort or something.
What he was the picture they always use of him where he's like looking over his shoulder and yeah, he looks like he's about to murder a group of school children.
Yeah.
It's like he is every stereotypical district court judge. Like if you picture a district court judge, you're like, this guy's an asshole right there. Like that picture it was perfect. Of course he's posing for a portrait. What a fucking dork.
So the ACLU walks in with 5 terrorists and he just instantly creates a class out of these guys. And unfortunately for him, as the White House told them, as the administration told them, Your Honor, you don't have any jurisdiction here. These guys are being held in Texas. They have a right to habeas. Everybody has a right to habeas if they're held by the government. But the habeas has to be where you're being held, in Texas, not in the District of Columbia. And he was like, whatever. And so he certifies a class instantly, starts issuing all kinds of injunctions, and it percolates up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's like, yeah, you don't have any jurisdiction here. You got to send this to Texas. And he's still handling the case. He's still issuing orders. Now he tried to hold the White House in criminal contempt because they wouldn't turn flights of terrorists around in midair over international airspace.
Which he didn't put in his order. He just said it. He just said it in chambers.
Right. So he wants his verbal order to have, magical effect, which injunctions and TROs, folks, they have to be in writing because they have to be unambiguous. Otherwise, the person being enjoined doesn't know what they're allowed to do or not allowed to do, and the injunction doesn't have legal effect. So it wouldn't surprise me if, knowing Trump, if he heard the oral version, I plan later to put this into writing that you can't do this. And he said, get him on the plane now, get him in flight. But that's allowed. That's allowed. The injunction was not yet in effect.
Right. And the crazy thing is the injunction couldn't be in effect. Not from that guy. Like you said, the class certification has to come in the district where the actual conflict is occurring.
Well, they can't even be a class. There's no class here. So right. To create a class, what the ACLU is actually saying is my clients want to be they would have to be the class representatives. They're the people actually in court. And the class is supposed to be Tren Aragua people who are at risk of being deported. But also, we deny that our clients are Tren Aragua. Well, how can you be the representatives of the class when you deny that you're a member of the class? The whole thing is insane.
And plus, this is a novel area of law as well. When you said you can't be a class, it's because I don't believe the court has recognized habeas petitioners as a class ever.
Ever. You can't. Habeas is personal, right? I am being detained from the government. I demand that the government present me in court and explain their justification for detaining me. That's all it is. You don't even get right of counsel at a habeas meeting because you're not making any arguments. All the arguments are being made by the government. These are the reasons we're holding this person. It's a thing. I love it when the progressives on social media talk about due process. People are being taken without due process. I'm like, you don't know what due process is. First of all, it's not one thing. It's not like a full-blown trial.
It's due.
Process is different depending on the circumstances and the procedure and the person being involved. If I'm Karen Reed charged with murder in this trial, we're going to live stream eventually if they ever get the fan off the screen. She gets a lot of due process as someone charged with murder. She gets a full-blown jury trial, the whole thing. But if you're an illegal migrant in the U.S., the amount of due process you're entitled to is minuscule. And if you're a terrorist under the Alien Enemies Act, you still get due process. But it's like as thin as a piece of paper. That's it. They have to bring you into court if you demand it. They have to bring you into court, and you have to explain to the court, the government does, that we have reason, we have good reason. It's not even like by a preponderance of the evidence. This is we have good reason to believe this person's a member of TDA, that they're not a U.S. citizen, and that they're at least 14 years of age. That's it. Boom, you're gone. And you don't even get that individually. They could bring in 100 of you into the courtroom and do it all at once. You don't even have to be in the courtroom. This can all be paperwork. A lot of habeas stuff is just paperwork that's being filed. So It's extremely limited, and it can be done extremely efficiently. And I expect that's where we're going to end up. That the Texas federal courts are going to get really, really good at doing mass habeas hearings.
If people misunderstand due process, probably the most frequently in law, because they believe that due process means you're entitled to like a jury trial in all matters. If you pull a gun on a police officer, the process that you're due is the time between him drawing and shooting you. Like that's what you have to understand. The state has authorized and empowered that officer to defend himself or defend someone else with lethal force. And that's the process that you're due. Everybody leaves off the due. They just believe that the process part matters, and then they have some idea of what it is. Nope. For example, I don't actually like this example very much, but there was that Anwar al-Awlaki guy, right? That Obama drone struck in the Yemen. Do you remember that guy? He was it was the first U.S. citizen that was intentionally targeted by a drone in a foreign combat zone, and he was blown up. And a lot of people said Obama murdered that guy, and I think there's a good argument that he did, but in the case, he was actually afforded a level of process, and that level of process was a military chain of command that determined that he was a target under the AUMF, and because of his associations with ISIS at the time, and that authorized a military strike. And so there is a chain of command process for issuing a drone strike on a specified target, and that chain of command was followed. And you could disagree that chain of command was sufficient. I actually kind of do. I think they had Marine boots on the ground. I think an arrest should have been made because he was a U.S. citizen, even though he's a complete dirtbag. But he still did receive the process that was due to him. And people that's one of the critical misunderstandings that I encounter in law and talking to people about the laws is a misunderstanding of due process.